Hello everyone. Today's topic is Keats on negative capability. My name is Deepa Sarawat and I'll be the speaker for today. So, what exactly negative capability means? When we hear this word negative capability, what does it comes to our mind? Something negative. So, when we talk about capability associated with negative, so it is a writer's ability. So basically negative capability is a writer's ability. And what does that exactly mean? Negative capability was a phrase that was firstly coined, for the first time it was coined by a romantic poet, John Keats, in the year 1817. And he used this particular term to characterize the capacity of the greatest writer's work, particularly Shakespeare's work, to pursue a vision of artistic beauty, even when it leads them into intellectual confusion and uncertainty, as opposed to a preference for philosophical certainty over artistic beauty. So, Keats, for the first time, when he was talking to his brother in a letter, so he said he actually mentioned Shakespeare's way of writing as negative capability. He discussed that the beauty, the artistic beauty, and the level at which Shakespeare compels its readers and the audience to imagine. So that might not be a completely real world, but the audience would consider it as real. It would see it as real. It would believe it as real. So this capability of a writer to make the audience believe what he's portraying, maybe it's not maybe not it's not existing anywhere, that particular world is not existing, but the writer has that ability to convince the readers that the world that he's portraying is completely real and it is completely believable. That is negative capability. That's what Keats says. That is what Keats means when he says negative capability. So Keats was of the opinion that some certainties were best left open to imagination, and that the element of doubt and ambiguity added only romanticism to a concept. So what he meant was that there are certain capabilities within an audience, and for example imagination, and using that imagination, an audience can have endless number of possibilities to imagine things, to create and to associate their imagination with what the writer is trying to say. So that is what he says, or that is what he gives in justification to negative capability. Keats is a very famous romantic poet, and he was also the master and the founder of negative capability. The concept of negative capability is the ability to contemplate the world without the desire to try and reconcile the contradictory aspects or fit it into the closed and the rational system. So, negative capability is basically the writer's ability through which he can reconcile the two contradictory worlds, and the audience would completely agree through that, and that negative, and because of that unrealistic or that imaginary world would exist for the audience. It's in an easy way we can say that the writer is portraying a world that does not exist, but he would tell us with that surety. He would tell it so convincingly that the audience would believe it to be real. The audience would be able to completely relate to that world. So when Keats put a name to this concept, it was not like this, that this practice was not being followed from time immemorial. Everyone was using that. Shakespeare was, such a predecessor, was so much years ago, Keats. But Keats was the one who has conceptualized this concept. Although this concept was in practice, it was being used. So philosophers lashed onto the term and they expounded upon it. So negative capability, as seen as not just denying the need for correct answers, but denying humanity's ability to fully understand any kind of phenomena. Or in other words, we can say that negative capability says that few things, those correct answers might not be available, and the facts or the things that are being portrayed, they don't exist at all. So Keats was seen as rejecting the enlightened attempt to rationalize nature. So he was in a way rejecting that we don't always have to, like, to always rationalize everything, as the pre-romantics were doing, or the predecessors to the romantics were doing. That Keats saw this, that everything does not need rationalization, that nature does not need rationalization, and if we are trying to rationalize the nature, then this, like, then and he, by doing so, ended up at the forefront of the romantic movement by putting forth these things. So if we want to understand this particular concept, so we can understand it this way. Example, think of Harry Potter's universe. Most of us are aware that magic does not exist in real life, but J.K. Rowling, the writer, has dumps us right into the world of witches, wizards, giants, dwarfs, goblins, ghosts, and she has fully, expects her readers to keep up with her the way she's writing, and the readers also are able to imagine and to live in the world that she has created. She explains some of the terminology, but we don't know where that magic comes from, or why some wizards are born of Muggle parents, or where this name of Muggle even came from. No one has any explanation, but everyone is reading and is able to, believe with that world. We accept that world, and so by accepting to that world, we are also giving, our imagination more power, and through our imagination we are, she has portrayed that in book, and with our imagination we are able to see that, we are able to imagine that. So we are completely giving the possibility of the reader, of the writer, with whatever she is saying. So now, what's the background of this particular concept? So Keats longs to find beauty in what was often an ugly and terrible world. This world is, often ugly and terrible because of the harsh realities that it has. So he was trying to find beauty in that particular world. He was an admirer of Shakespeare, and his reading of, Shakespeare's work, both insightful and intriguing, illustrating the genius of Shakespeare's creativity. In a letter to his brother, Keats describes genius as negative capability. So he has described this genius of portraying things as negative capability. I quote, "At once it struck me what quality went to form a man of achievement, especially in literature, and which Shakespeare possessed so enormously. I mean, negative capability. That is when a man is capable of being in uncertainties, mysterious doubts, without any irritable reaching after fact and reason." So, to his brother, Sterus, he is, referring the works of Shakespeare, and he's saying that this man was born with an, exceptional a genius. And in order to explain or to show his genius, he gives this term negative capability. So this description can be compared to a definition of conflict, an emotional state that is characterized by indecision, restlessness, uncertainty, and tension resulting from incompatible inner needs or drives of comparable intensity. These two definitions are very similar. The meaning of conflict sounds very negative and hopeless. However, Keats' creative concept seems positive and full of potential by leaving out restlessness and by avoiding an irritable reaching after fact and reason. So that is basically the background of negative capability. While writing to his brothers George and Thomas in December 1817, letter found in selected letters in the public library, Keats coins the phrase negative capability, the willingness to embrace uncertainty, live with mystery, and make peace with ambiguity. Triggered by, so this term was triggered by Keats' disagreement with the English poet and the philosopher Coleridge, whose quest for definite answers over beauty laid the foundations for the modern day reductionism. And the concept is a beautiful articulation of a familiar sentiment. The life is about, he says that the life is about living the questions that the unknown is what drives science, that the most beautiful experience we can have are mysterious, that we cannot always rationalize everything. We cannot have always scientific answers to whatever we see. Beauty is mysterious. We can't have answers to the questions of beauty. Keats set out what he believed was necessary to men of achievement, or one who is capable of being in uncertainties, mysteries, and doubts without any irritable reaching after facts or reasons. Now, all of you might be, completely familiar with these terms. What does negative capability means? But if we want to analyze this term in depthly, then this term was the founder or the one who founded this term was Keats. So according to Keats, in order to be able to create true poetry, one had to be able to remain in what may be states of conflict without reaching after facts or reasons, by not imposing oneself upon doubts and certainties which make up a conflict. Keats would rather impose, we were open to the imagination. So he says that if we really want to create true poetry or if we really want to understand the true beauty of poetry, we have to give this always scientific approach. We cannot always rationalize or scientifically analyze everything, because poetry is formed out of beauty, and beauty is mysterious. It cannot, we have to think out, and we have to imagine beyond logics, facts, or reasons. So we have to give a possibility to uncertainties. That means we have to imagine things that do not exist. For example, there are poems in which the poet assumes himself as a butterfly and he's flying, which is logically not true. But this is the negative capability of the poet, by which he is portraying it that convincingly that the reader completely agrees to that. So it is the negative capability of the poet. Now, I quote, for Keats, negative capability is a sublime expression of supreme empathy. Empathy is the capacity for participating in experiencing and understanding the feelings or ideas of others. It's a creative tool that is to help us understand each other, to understand different points of views or different cultures so that we are able to express them. What does Keats means by negative capability. Clearly, he's using the word negative not in a very projective sense, but to convey the idea that a person's potential can be defined by what he or she does not possess. Keith argues that a certain passivity, a willingness to let what is mysterious or doubtful remain just that. We don't have to find logic and reason in everything. Something that is mysterious does not, does not need to be defined logically. It does not need to be, rationalized. So that's where the role of negative capability comes in. And we have to, in order to, understand and to express or feel the beauty of literature, poetry, one needs to be open to negative capability. If you always continue to rationalize things, ki, oh, how can the story of negative of Harry Potter be real? If you start thinking it that way, that the that J.K. Rowling has written Harry Potter, and this is completely a stupid story because it is beyond fantasy, it is beyond imagination. So that's where negative capability works on. You have to, like, where the text should be that much influensive that when you are reading that particular text, you should be able to feel that, you should be able to see the world that she's creating, you should be able to feel the character she's talking about, the story, the magic she's weaving in her work. So be it not just J.K. Rowling, any writer who's portraying a world that does not exist in the real life, that is beyond logic and reason, but we are able to relate to that world. So that is where negative capability works. So negative capability describes the ability of the individual to, if we characterize it or if we summarize the characteristics of negative capability, they goes as: first, to perceive, think, and obtain beyond any contextual speculation. That means not always reasoning works here. We have to reach a sort of transfusion and transmission of one's consciousness to identify oneself with the object. That means you are able to relate yourself to the work that the writer has written using your imagination, using your negative capability. Now, the third one, it rejects the constraints of any text. That means you cannot limit the text to, boundaries, to reasons, to logics. Then it is negative capability experiences the phenomena free from epistemological or the scientific knowledge bounds. That's what I have been, telling throughout this presentation, that negative capability works beyond logics, reasons, facts. You have to give power to your imagination. Your imagination needs to work there. The writer has that capability that you're able to, if, for example, if we look at, Shakespeare's work, and even the play is going on in the daytime, but with that convincing nature, he's saying that he's pointing towards it, and he's saying, look at the moon, and the audience with full satisfaction and with full agreement looks at the moon with that convincing manner. The author is trying to convey that is negative capability. In the same way, when a writer or when a poet portrays maybe a creature or maybe himself as a cloud wandering freely. So in Philip Larkin, I wander, lonely as a cloud. So here he's imagining himself as a cloud who is wandering. So, but if we look from, logic, reason, and doubts, so it is not at all possible. But when we employ a negative capability over these subjects, so it really do work. Now, the reader has to contemplate the word without the desire to close it into rational systems. That means in logics, in oh, this kind of world does not exist. You have to think beyond that. feeling empathy to reach a deeper understanding of beauty and truth. And you have to be empathetic, you know, you have to feel the pain or the happiness or whatever the writer is trying to convey, as if it's going with you. So you have to be empathetic. Now, the next one, you have to remove, or the reader has to remove one's intellectual self while writing or while reading a poetry. We completely agree to that. We have to. And the reader experiences the emotion of the language and pass over the half truths in silence. So these are the basic characteristics. So the reader has to live a life of sensation rather than of thoughts. And the reader has to make the meaning of words less important than their feel. Oh, what does that word mean? The world should be able to, you know, arouse emotions and feelings into the reader rather than, you know, oh, is that word fitting that? For example, I wander lonely as a cloud. Wander, a cloud wandering, or I wander as a cloud. So this not fitting the context. If you you know, look at it semiotically, or you know, if you look at the stylistic analysis of that particular work, so you might have, you know, endless number of possibilities to think that the word that, you know, Philip Larkin has used is not going into the context. But yes, go beyond this precise definition of words that cause contradiction. They can still be used together to create the right ambience. Now, the audience or the readers has to allow the atmosphere of the Keats poem, not just Keats poem, of a writer's poem to surround us without picking out individual meaning and inconsistencies. And to bask, to enjoy sitting or lying in the heat or light of something, especially the sun, to bask in the beautiful without questioning it, just taking beauty simply as it is coming. So you have to bask in the sun rather than contemplate, oh, this sunlight, okay, it is full of this, that. You don't have to be logical. You have to be empathetic. You have to be imaginative. You have to understand it, you know, with emotions. You have to give the world and the human the infinite depth hidden to those who suffer from egoistic sublime. So these were the characteristics. And if we try to conclude, so negative capability is the strongest imaginative power according to Keats, and many a time a poet or a writer wants to live in mystery and doubt. Most of the writers do that, so which cannot be answered, and the reader cannot have answers, and the reader can have answers that they like, but they cannot have the answers that they want, because the poet or the reader, or sorry, because the poet or the writer won't be there to give those answers. So you have to imagine the answers yourself, and the answer, any answer that you imagine would be right. So there is no, you know, that this answer might be right or that answer right. If you want to think it logically, you won't, that particular piece of poetry or a work won't fit to your context. But if you are open to, you know, imagination, to possibilities, then you will have endless number of answers. For example, here I would like to, you know, address to all the Harry Potter lovers who have watched the movie endless number of times, and they have their own formulas, they have their own, you know, theories regarding everything. So this is how they have worked, how they've, you know, given power to the negative capability, and using that negative capability they are answering to things, to the possibilities that are left by the, you know, writer. So most of the literature is formed on this very theory of negative capability, in which imagination plays a very vital role. Thank you for reading. You can reference to this. That's it. Thank you.